Jedna od najpopularnijih letnjih aktivnosti u svetu je jedrenje. Jedriličarstvo u Srbiji važi za veoma skup i nedostižan sport. Međutim, to nije tako. Jedan par iz Srbije za samo 5 dana uspeo da nauči da jedri, a mi danas razgovaramo sa parom koji im je to znanje omogućio. Nick i Mahina Hathaway. Hello, guys!
Hi.
Hi. What is weather over there, and where exactly is over there?
Well, the weather over here is
Stunning.
absolutely beautiful at the moment, and right now we're in Croatia, and we're in Donji Seget, just up from Trogir, near the Split Airport in Croatia.
Okay, so you have beautiful islands and and sea over here. Tell me, you're born in New Zealand. This is island nation and so on. When did you fell in love with ocean?
When did we fall in love with Croatia?
Ocean.
Ocean. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure my wife has ever fallen in love with the ocean, but she had to. I've been in the sea all my life, not sailing as such, but I've been in the sea surfing and swimming, diving, fishing, all of this in New Zealand all my life. So I think I fell in love with it at around about 15 when I really started surfing.
Okay, this is with surfing, but what about with sailing? When did you learn to sail?
You came a lot later to surfing, didn't you?
To sailing?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot later to sailing. I didn't start sailing until I was about 21. And I went and did a racing week with my father and his friend in the Bay of Islands in New Zealand, which is a very beautiful place and a very popular sailing destination. And I loved it. I was just like, I'm hooked. This is amazing. I want to do this all the time. So I started looking for a yacht. And I bought a yacht.
Wow.
And I taught myself how to sail.
So, but what about you, Mahina? You look like that you are sucking this life, not going over there willingly.
So I am a self-confessed princess and bookworm. So sailing in the sea is not my natural habitat. I didn't fall in love with sailing. I fell in love with this one.
so sea and him in package. Well. Okay. So is it hard for you to be on sea all the time and doing business that you are doing? Not unique, but you.
It can be, but I'm also of the opinion that it makes me a much better sailor, and it makes me much more empathetic to people who come on trips with us, because a lot of people are like me and they don't have a lot of experience necessarily out on the sea and out on the water, and I can empathize with that. I understand that. So that's where I think that's very useful.
Okay. Over there is your boat, right?
No. We found a nice spot. Just with a boat in the background today. The boat that we use is actually just down here in the Baltic Marina.
Okay.
And we are looking at getting into a boat that is ours for 45-degree sailing next year, coming into 2022. At the moment, we charter the yachts for our guests and make sure we've got the exact right situation boat for what they need on their trip.
And we also love hunters.
And we love hunter yachts, so we're always chartering hunter yachts.
Yes, but I asked you this because of Mahina. Are you able to sail from this position over there to this next island? Mahina, you. Can you sail from this position to next island?
I really had to, I could.
That's rubbish. She absolutely can.
Okay.
She does not give herself enough credit. She's actually a licensed skipper as well. So she has a license to sail these yachts just like I do. And she is very capable, but she prefers to be the crew versus the skipper.
Yeah. Much responsibility.
But I don't have any kind of experience with being crew on sailing vessel. how much time would I need to get used, first of all, to be crew, and then to go from one place, from point A to point B near shore?
How long? Well, look, you saw the video of Bata and Tamara. They've been sailing for 5 days at that point. We've been teaching them very, very one-on-one, 2-on-2, full-on for a week. And they were very capable by the end of that week to take the boat from point A to point B under sail. They had a good understanding. Now, I would say Bata, Tamara, they learnt a little bit faster than most do. I was very impressed with how fast they picked it up.
They also had context because Bata had previous experience and they've been on boats.
Being on a boat, yeah.
So, I mean, they had context of what the whole boating thing was. They just then needed to put themselves into that context and apply all the things we taught them. And they did really well.
Okay.
If I would say in general, someone needs about 2 or 3 weeks to get immersed in sailing to be able to do something like that.
Okay. That includes navigation also.
A little bit of it.
A little bit.
When you come and do a week's sailing, either with us or on a course, you want to learn everything that encompasses what you need to do on the yacht, which is navigation, how to tie knots, how to put out your fenders, what to look out for, how to sail the yacht, and how to read the weather and where you're going to go. So all of this is built into every day you sail.
As well as just living on the yacht, because living on a boat is quite different. And there's a lot of little things, like Tomato was saying all week, there's a lot of little things that you can do that make a big difference. So it's just really taking notice of those little things.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like Instagram.
Well, I mean, it does.
Scenery.
And there is a lot more.
There's a lot more underneath.
Yeah, a lot more to consider, a lot more responsibility. And I think that's one of the things we really wanted to be able to help people with, is they get to come out and do this sailing trip, enjoy it, and be able to rest. Sorry, motorbike. Okay. Rest some of that responsibility, because if you are the one that's in charge and you have to think about all of this and learn, it can get very hard.
Very stressful.
And very stressful. So coming out with us, you get to have this experience, sail the boat, enjoy the Instagram life, and learn without having to worry that it all ends with you.
Okay. And did you have some kind of experience alone at the ocean, at New Zealand? You know, this is Southern Pacific Ocean. It's near Antarctica, well, and Australia, but let's just say this southern part, it's near Antarctica. Did you have some kind of experience that you sail by yourself alone? Nick.
Yeah, that's a question for you, because me, no.
Yes. I would call that's how I started. I would call it a little bit irresponsible on my part, though I had the license, I had everything I needed. Though I would say, right, I've got a day off, I'm going sailing. And if I had no one to go sailing with, I would go on my own. And I would go out into Cook Strait from Mana, New Zealand, and sail out around the island there or into Cook Strait, and learn very quickly. And I've always enjoyed solo sailing. I find it a good challenge and very relaxing. So, yeah, I've done a bit of that.
And I mean, I don't know how much your viewers know about Cook Strait in New Zealand, but it's between the two islands. You've got Cook Strait running through, and it's one of the more dangerous passages in New Zealand. It's got pretty strong tides, so
Yeah.
it's not a small thing to go out sailing by yourself anywhere near Cook Strait.
So basically, you're saying to me that water can take you away, and then you can reach point of no return. Wow.
Yeah. You need to be very respectful of the sea. I mean, anywhere, but especially in New Zealand and Cook Strait. Sailing in New Zealand is very serious because, as you say, it's Pacific, it's Southern Ocean, and it's all open ocean. There is no, a little bit, but very little hiding between islands. What we have here in Croatia is incredibly
Sheltered.
We're spoiled because you can just sail from island to island and you can always find shelter. In New Zealand, if you have the Southern Ocean rolling in and it's 5 meters high, there's nowhere to hide. You need to keep going.
Wow, that was my second question. Compare Adriatic Sea with all other seas that you sailed in.
Okay, that's a lot of seas. I think the best way to sum this up is we love New Zealand, we love Wellington, where we came from and where we sailed. The water, the wind, the weather, everything. We have sailed the Caribbean, Australia, China, Bali, like a lot of different places. We have never agreed on another place to live since Wellington until we arrived here. The Adriatic Sea for me is, I was going to say easy. It's not that it's easy. It's so many possibilities, so many islands. It's beautiful. And generally the water is relatively flat. And what we love here is you still get strong winds. You have the border, and it reminds us of Wellington, of home, where we have very strong winds. So in comparison, I think this is now my favorite place to sail in the world.
Wow.
Get variation like nowhere else we've been.
And what about you, Mahina? How did you manage to get used in life in Balkans? I mean, it's still it's seaside, but it's still Balkans. What do you like the most here?
To be completely honest, Nick fell in love with the sea. When we came here, I fell in love with the people. Not just in Croatia, but as we started traveling around this whole area, I fell in love with the people. This reminds me a lot of home, not just of New Zealand, but I'm Māori. This reminds me a lot of Māori culture, Balkan people. The way that people are here makes me feel very at home. So
the way we eat, all of this, we drink, it's very similar.
The family-focused culture.
But unfortunately, we don't have haka here.
No, don't have haka.
Unfortunately.
But we don't have the wine and the rakia. So, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about Serbian perspective on sailing. First of all, we don't have seaside. So for us, it's not possible to get on car, drove few hours from home and then be on the boat. That's first question. And second question is price. But let's start with first question. Do you have experience sailing on inland body of water?
Yes, we do.
I'm actually from an inland body of water. This is probably why I'm not as comfortable with the sea as Nick is, because I grew up on a lake.
Okay.
So a lot of my first experiences with us sailing together, the yacht that Nick bought, we could put on a trailer and we could put into the lake where I'm from, which was a lot of what helped me become comfortable with sailing, was sailing on a lake. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Sava and Dunav near Belgrade. So what about this? What about rivers?
I have done a little bit on rivers.
They're a bit trickier.
But a lot trickier. New Zealand rivers are not large. They're not large at all.
They're not deep.
And they're not deep either. They're not for sailing boats. Maybe river mouths and large harbours with tidal flow. We have a lot of that. But as far as actually up the rivers, we have not done a lot. I've done a few races in different countries, yacht races on the river, and enjoyed that. But I would really have to investigate exactly what the sailing situation is like. I have seen a little bit of your large river that you can sail on in Serbia when I've seen it online, but I don't know a lot about it yet.
Yes, but is it possible for a person to, for example, start sailing at the river and then to gain some kind of experience and then come to you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Anywhere where they have a body of water and they have sailing boats, you can start sailing here.
Even if they're small one-person sailing boats, I mean, the basic principles are still the same.
Yeah.
And you still get that basis for what we do here. So, yeah, definitely.
Doesn't matter where you are. The wind still goes over the sails the same. So a lot of purists in sailing will say that when you learn to sail, you should learn on smaller boats, like you might get on the river here to get a feel, understand how the yacht works, and then move up to bigger boats. Not everyone has that luxury, so we still introduce people on large boats. But if you can sail there, I would absolutely go and give it a go.
Okay, and second thing is price. How expensive is it? I mean, I guess that in New Zealand it's much less expensive since you have, well, lots of water, lots of boats.
I mean, it depends. But New Zealand is very much a large boating culture, so there are a lot of boats around. Though sailing yachts are not as prevalent or not as common as the small fishing boat or the small beach fishing boat, something like this. Yeah. So New Zealand isn't the cheap place to sail.
New Zealand also tends to be the kind of place that if you're a proper sailor, you sail. If you're not, you don't. So that's that very big divide. Whereas I find here, there's less of that divide because you can just hire a skipper and he will take you sailing here. You can't really do that so much in New Zealand.
Yeah. The other thing with New Zealand is we're very big on yacht racing. So the yacht club environment where you can go and get onto a Friday night race or a Sunday race is a lot bigger than what we've seen in Europe so far.
Something that we would like to change here in Croatia. We want to sort of introduce that casual racing because it's a great way to learn.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get your foundation.
Yes,
So,
this is kind of sports part of sailing. But what about tourist part of sailing? I mean, people here are used to pay much money for vacations in Turkey or Egypt or whatever, you know, and they are seeking over there some kind of active vacation. But when they are sailing with you, you know, it's also a vacation, but you know, active one. You're learning something to do. So, what about comparison of prices in touristic resorts and, you know, sailing boats?
So, when you compare, if you're going to take your family to a resort, and you might need a couple of rooms, you know, you're paying however much per night, plus your food and your dinners, and then you do your activities like taking a day sailing or going for a trip to the islands, travel between areas, a tour. You know, all of this gets very expensive very fast. So what we wanted to bring to that is, okay, if you invest a similar amount of money into a sailing holiday, you arrive, you unpack once, you have your floating apartment on the water, and then all of your travel to the islands, to the activities, all of the activities in between, the stand-up paddleboarding, the sailing, the swimming, snorkeling, this is all part of it. And you're right there. So you save money on those parts. Also, Mahina prepares breakfast and lunch on board the boat for you. It's all taken care of. Everywhere we go is all included and taken care of, except your dinners ashore. So the comparison we've seen is, depending on the level of luxury you're used to holidaying in, the holidays are about on par, if not a little bit cheaper.
Okay, so in one way it's luxurious, but on the other way it's, you know, like if you're going to camping trip.
Yeah, and I mean you can come into sailing at any end of that. So if you come in and you rent a small boat with just a skipper, you could do this. You know, you could rent this small boat for 2,000 euros for the week. And then rent your skipper for another 1,000 euros for the week, and then you make your own food and you have your holiday and you go around and you pay the extra costs as you go.
Okay.
Or you can obviously, like hotels, like resorts, anything, you can just keep ramping it up until it gets very expensive into massive luxury. And we wanted to sit somewhere in the middle where we are providing a absolute premium service. You are on a very nice modern boat and everything is taken care of and you're really relaxing on your holiday.
Mahina, could you tell me about the feedback of your guests? What they are saying when they leave?
Most of them don't want to leave.
They hold on to her.
The children do. The children, we specialise in families and I get quite attached to the children. So most of them generally are talking when they're leaving about when they can book for next time, when they can book for next year or 2 years' time, or that's the conversation that they're having. And we actually still have contact with most of our clients because the way that we work on boats, we are not very, what's the word?
We're not standoffish.
We're not silver service.
Yeah, we're not there to wait on people and just be in the background.
Because we're from New Zealand, we're very casual, we're still very professional, but we tend to make very good friends with the families and the people that come on board our boats. So we make very, very good relationships. And this shows when they leave, you know, there's hugs all around. We talk about how they'll come back and we'll see them again. And it feels very, very good to be making friends with our clients like this.
And I think that's really important as well, that Mahina is trusted like this. She's there to look after her, you know, to look after the children. And so to put your children in somebody's care, you need to really trust them.
Yeah.
Yes. And what about seasickness? Do you have some kind of remedy?
This is a brilliant question.
I get really seasick.
And so do I.
Wow. After all these years.
After all these years.
Wow.
We have always been very prone to seasickness, both of us, car sickness. If I'm not the driver in the car and it's a windy road, I'm like, let me out. So this has made us very sympathetic and understanding to what seasickness is like for people and how to make it better.
It also means that we do things very differently. I have sailed with Nick for many years, and I've also sailed with other skippers who don't understand seasickness at all. And there is a very different way that Nick drives the boat and the way that Nick thinks about traveling with the boat, as opposed to other skippers who don't get seasickness because they just have no context of what affects it and what it means. Also for us on the boat, it means that the food that I prepare on board, I'm very conscious of staying away from heavy foods. We're very conscious of drinking a lot of water and encouraging our guests to drink a lot of water. All these little things that all band together as a whole to make a big difference with people on our boat and seasickness.
Yeah, Mahina cooks is very fresh and usually light. In the heat is very light as well, because heavy foods overeating like this can really help bring that seasickness up. So we plan all of our meals around our passages and things. Now, one amazing thing about Croatia is because there is cover between the islands so often, the seasickness has been a very, very small issue for us. And Mahina deals with the kids by making music playlists and singing while we're underway so that they're occupied.
We have dance parties with the kids while we're sailing. There's no seasickness when we're having dance parties on the boat with the kids. But I think too, and this is for me as well as what I found with other people, seasickness has a lot of root in anxiety and trust. Yeah. It's not completely that, but that's a very large part of it. And so when we build that rapport and that trust with people, it helps to alleviate some of that tension in their body. And then you have these other things, the food and the water and the way Nick helped. It all just kind of layers to really help people manage their seasickness.
Yeah, when they have a confidence in us as a crew, as a skipper, as a quartermaster, they are not worried. They are relaxed. If there is any fear or you don't have a confidence in your crew that are looking after you and your family, this is anxiety, and that can cause seasickness in those that are prone to it.
Especially for mums who have young kids. We have a lot of young kids aboard. If mums are confident that their kids are taken care of, that takes a lot of that eases their mind a lot. I've found that helps quite considerably.
Okay, so you can actually, you're saying to me that you can deal with this anxiety issue no matter on because some people can be afraid of large body of water, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can deal with this.
We can deal with this.
Totally. I understand how most of them feel because I get it pretty badly. I've just been very lucky with my skipper. So
A big part of that is also the way, if you look on our website, you cannot just click book now. You cannot pay your money and just come with us. You actually kind of have to interview to get on the boat, because what we want to what we want to make sure of is that we are all compatible with each other. And as long as you get to know the people you're going to sail with, and you get to trust them, then that alleviates that anxiety leading up to the trip. And if you feel like you have a rapport with these people, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable on the way there, when you arrive. And so this is a big part of our process when someone books a trip, is we have at least 2 Zoom calls like this with them to make sure we're compatible before there's any transaction, before anyone is booked. We make sure we're compatible, because maybe they're after something that we don't provide, and we'll refer them somewhere else. There's no point to them coming with us if they're not going to enjoy their time.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And what about your plans? I mean, how long do you plan to stay in this region?
I don't have any plans to leave. I think this is, for all the foreseeable future, this is where we want to be.
We love it here.
Yeah, we've started our company here. We've been building it for 4 years now, 5 years, and we have made a lot of friends and family here. So
we've brought my parents over here.
Wow.
This is the part of the world that we've fallen in love with.
Yeah. And we just want to explore around. So Croatia, for us, with our industry, is an amazing base in Europe. So we can be here, we can enjoy it, enjoy the Mediterranean lifestyle, and hopefully see a lot more of the surrounding countries.
Wow. Did you been in Greece?
Not yet. I've never been to Greece.
Neither of us have.
No, we've had a lot of discussions with some of our clients, people who have been there for sailing, and obviously Greece is a very large sailing destination, along with Turkey. The main differences we're hearing and seeing from Greece is the distance between the islands in Greece is very far relative to Croatia. Here, another thing people are worried about on sailing holidays is how long we're actually going to be sailing each day. Realistically, we don't travel for more than 3 or 4 hours each day. It's about enjoying the lifestyle. In Greece, you're often 6, 7, 8 hours between islands, and it can be very windy and a lot rougher because it's not as sheltered. So as much as we will look at maybe doing some trips down there in the future, we're still very much focusing on Croatia.
So Croatia is a good place to start with sailing yachts.
I really think it is. Even comparing with the Caribbean, we sailed in the Caribbean quite a bit as well.
Which we love.
Absolutely love. But the distances, again, between the islands, you are then exposed to the open sea. So there is more waves. And if you're unsure about this, Croatia is just brilliant, because there is also so many docks. Just about every night we will dock where you can step off the yacht. You can step right off the back and go for a walk. So if you have any anxiety about being on the boat, or you just don't want to be
too long,
you don't want to be cooped up with your crew or your family, then you can step off and go for a walk. And that is often what makes a big difference to a holiday, and everyone leaving happy, really enjoying it.
Thank you, guys. May you have fair winds and following seas. Ceo intervju sa kapetanom Nikom i njegovom suprugom možete čitati na portalu Telegraf.rs, a kompletan ovaj video možete pogledati na našem YouTube kanalu.